Now, the emergence of nationalism in Vietnam. There was sometimes an open criticism, sometimes a secret criticism. The open criticism, in the sense, the teachers sometimes openly express their views that the system what is followed right now is not correct. Secretly, in the sense, they could not say it openly to all of them, but within their close quarters, they used to explain the view that this is not correct, which is happening here. Especially the teachers. Teachers played a very vital role in the emergence of nationalism in Vietnam. The process of Vietnam nationalism was mainly guided or taken over from the hands of teachers, because these people are the people who motivated the students to think in the right path. Even though the textbooks, the curriculum was framed to justify and glorify the French control over the colonial mastership, but the teachers are the people who enlightened the students that the system is wrongly abrupted here. It is not shown the exact picture what is happening in the Vietnam right now. It is wrongly posted in the textbooks. It is wrongly printed in the textbooks. These views are brought by the teachers to the students, from students to the parents. It reached to the larger part of the society. So in this way, teachers played a very vital role. At the same time, the alarming note was even the French elites. The French elites also faced a problem with the people, because they can't have the security of their lives, and sometimes the colonial governments tried to ensure security for the French elites by dropping or restricting the eligible Vietnamese people to get into the white collar jobs. So this was fought by the Vietnam people. The steps taken by the French government to restrict them to get into the white collar jobs, automatically they raised the slogans against this. So the French elites used to feel dissatisfied and used to feel threatened by that. Even the white collar jobs eligible people of Vietnam also felt the same thing, that they are threatened, and at the same time the French elites who are in the position also felt threatened that they are going to be in trouble. By 1920s, the concept of ideology of nationalism started to spread to each and every corner of the world. The Lenin's moves, initiatives, Comintern International, all these things developed the idea of fighting against the colonial masters will lead to success. And in the background, as we have discussed, the landless people are growing day by day. This is the same situation which is present in Russia once upon a time. Lenin, with his hardship, came forward, removed the landlordship and redistributed the lands. In the same way it happened in China. So the Vietnam people also started to think and get confidence that we can do these things. And the students of Vietnam, the students started to move to China, Russia and the other nations to study about the ground reality, what is happening there, what is communism, what is democracy, what is the appropriate steps that should be taken, what is nationalism. To understand all these things, they started to concentrate on the facts and the realities. Now, even some people of the students started to move to the French regions or the France, where they can get a clear idea of what is industrial development, how a nation should be, what are the fundamental rights, what is liberty, equality, fraternity. These all concepts raised strongly the feeling of nationalism. And now the concept emerged into the minds of Vietnam people is that the colonial masters should be removed, the puppet king should be displaced or removed, and the old monarch should be replaced, who was removed by the French government. In this way, the ideology started to struck the minds of the Vietnam people in the larger extent, which will further encompass them and to lead the further struggle mottos. Then let us see how did it drive them towards the nationalism spirit. Now, moving on to the developments of nationalism. How did the nationalism merge and become a larger perspective? See here, these are the developments which happened before they attained their independence. We have many clinches which we are going to turn are the milestones in the journey of Vietnam's struggle for independence. Now let us see them step by step. See, in 1920s, there was a rise of political party called Young Anam Political Party. The demand of the Young Anam Political Party was, as many students started to move towards China, Russia, French, and study their languages, cultures, the revolutions, who went to Italy to study about the Mussolini's developments, all these things raised the initiative for them that their own leaders or the dynastic rule should be brought back or replaced, which were thrown away by the French people, and a puppet government was replaced. Let us see the name. His Nayan dynasty has to be replaced. This is the main ideology of the Young Anam party. Now moving on to the next major development. Because of the changes, the Communist Party developments, Sun Yat-sen's changes, Chiang Kai-shek taking over the chargeship, Sun Yat-sen removing the monarchy in China. The background of this has influenced very much the Vietnamese people. So Vietnam people also thought that we should take a clear stand and take the inspiration from them and fight against the French colonial masters. And the trend developments of Russia, where Lenin has taken over the provincial government, where it is not satisfying the needs of the people. These two are the major things which influenced the people of Vietnam and target them, and the minds of the Vietnam people were enlarged to get towards the nationalism and the freedom struggle against their colonial masters. Coming to the other major thing which motivated them was the Great Depression. The Great Depression, which came in 1928, which has brought many changes in the lives of the people of Vietnam. The day-to-day lives are struck with a lot of troubles for them. We can see the uprising in the various levels. Let us see here. The rubber, other than the rice, the other most important crop which is grown in Vietnam was the rubber. The cost of the rubber has come down drastically. So the people, those who are depending on the crop of rubber, could not earn anything much larger when compared to the other fewer days. Now moving on to the rice production, third place in the world in the production of rice. So the production of rice is very high. The cost of the rice has come down because of Great Depression. Because of all these things, there are many other changes which have come down. See here, the rural debts, the people, those who are lending money for them, started to increase the interest rates, because the landlords are owning more than 70 to 80% of the lands, and the poor people are working under them, and they are forced to work because of the forced labor concept. We don't have any choice for us to do all these things. So they are forced to do the work at very less wage or amount of the time. And the unemployment condition also prevailed to a larger extent during the period of the economic depression. So because of the economic depression, each and every person was got struck with their day-to-day lives of the changes which are happening for us. Now the ideology of Young Anam went into the deep because of the lateral study of the students who went on to abroad to study of the various developments, the cultural changes and the important dynamic changes which are happening in China and Russia motivated the people of Vietnam to move on further and to envelop the further changes. And coming on to the Great Depression which happened in 1928, which brought each and every person to think on what is the stand that they are going to do it. If the situation is now is this, are we able to get bread for us? Can we get a single piece of bread for us to sustain? Are we able to do something or no? So these many doubts raised in the minds of the people got a solution in the name called Ho Chi Minh. His name is Ho Chi Minh. He is a man who arrived into the picture in February 1930. This man has moved to China and Russia, who have seen the various developments and the trends, how the people got motivated, what is the concept of nationalism. So he was a key man who fought against the Vietnam people's struggle for freedom movement. Now let us see him. What are the major steps that he has taken first? First of all, he has started a political party called Vietnamese Communist Party. Vietnam Communist Party. Later he understood that we should not be locking it to that, and so as we are drawing inspiration from China, let us change it name as Indo-China Communist Party. So whatever might be the name, he is able to motivate the people to get towards the change, motivated towards the ideology of nationalism. Already there are many factors which are working against the people to get or forcing them to run towards the nationalism. So the Young Anam party, the Nayan dynasty of replacement and get them into power, the revolutions which are happening in China and Russia, so the Great Depression effects, all these things, and the factor of Ho Chi Minh, the rising leader, has gathered all these things and raised them to move towards a strong sustainable growth of national movement. Now, when the situation is going on like this, the trends are changing in such a way. We have a colonial master, one against whom the Vietnamese people are fighting is the French people. Now, moving on to the other side of the coin, by late 1940s, the Japan ran away over the Vietnam people only to showcase their Southeast Asian control regions, because as a part of the Second World War, the Second World War was in progress in 1939. So, in order to get that sustainable for them, so they started to move on to attack the Vietnam region in 1940, which motivated them, and they occupied the Vietnam people. So, in this process, the people decided to fight against Japan as well as against the French people. That is the reason why the Vietnam people have to fight against two colonial masters. One is French, the other one is Japan, who entered later but had a strong influence up to 5 to 6 years until the Second World War comes to an end. So, in the process, we have to emerge as a strong group. So, the people started the Vietnamese independence struggle, named it as Vietnamese. Vietnam independence struggle, named it as Vietnamese. So, finally, they fought in 1945. They ran away against the Japan. They were able to defeat the Japanese government. Now, what happened for the French at this time? When they were able to defeat the Japan, it means that indirectly Japan was already in the lower ends, because Hitler on the other side has occupied the entire Japanese French region and is able to control the regions of French, and his army of French was sustainably could not concentrate much on the Vietnam region, because they are standing there to get saved themselves from the Hitler's attacks. So, this was one trend which made the French people to stand alone there for some time. In the meanwhile, Japan people have risen to their height, and they have proven that finally the Vietnam people have attacked them, and were successful. By September 1945, the region which was occupied by the Japanese people, Honai region, was recaptured, and our Ho Chi Minh became the leader of the nation of Vietnam, which the steps were started for the formation of the independent nation. Now, let us see what happened further. Did Vietnam achieve its success of independence? Japan people gave them independence and went, or the French people regains back their power in the name of the puppet king? Let us see the trend, what happened. Now, finally, under the leadership of Ho Chi Minh, we got the final formation of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. The dream of Vietnam people came true finally on August 1945, after the Second World War came to end. He was the man who drove them completely, and he took over the chairmanship of the control and land. As soon as he took over the power, he started to formulate four major issues which are threatening to the people of the Vietnam. The first one is, repeat, 25% of the land rents will be cut immediately. The second one is that second rate rents means the rents which are imposed additionally by the landlords will not be there further. The third step is all the arrears, or till now the farmers who are forced or could not pay back any loans, those all will be waived back, and they will be cleared now, right now, because prior to 1945 any other loan debts would not be accepted from today onwards. This is a clear instruction given by him, and he also have an ideology of redistribution of the lands of the rich landlords, who especially favor the French people, who are likely very closely intimated with the French people, will be removed and redistributed to the landless poor people. These are the four main steps he initiated to do. His dream was to reduce the land rents. The rents which are paid by the people are very less. The next point is the second rate of interest, or the second rate of rents which are paid for the landlord people should not be much. The third concept what he brought for us is that all arrears till now whatever is there will be waived off completely, and finally the lands will be redistributed, especially the lands which are under the control of the French elites or the French people who are very close with the French people. Even the Vietnam landlords also will be confiscated and redistributed. These are the clear ideologies what he had, but the future of Vietnam was not so secure as he saw it, and these steps could not result in much. The later trends have changed into a new concept for him. He has to face some more challenges to become united, and it was a long journey for the Vietnam to cross on, to move on, to get finally independent Vietnam, because we have some more milestones to be crossed before we reach the final stage of independence. So, the journey of the emergence of nationalism in Vietnam has taken many folded stages, milestones. It has crossed many stages, and finally it has achieved to the stage of the emergence of an independent nation. So, the newly republic nation of Vietnam could not live longer. It has got again further milestones to be passed on. These milestones are retwisted again, as we saw Hitler was attacking the region of French colonies and the French land or the France mainland. So the French people were silent for some time. During the meanwhile, we got the Japanese entry. So the people of Vietnam were fighting against the Japanese people up to 1945 under the leadership of Ho Chi Minh. So we could get independence from Japanese people, but we got the re-entry of the French people back into the picture, and these people entered with their MasterCard, the same emperor Bao Dai, the puppet king, and they made his entry into very clear stand, and they started to control it again for a certain period of time. So the dream of the Vietnam people to attain a complete independent state could not reach them to the final stage of success. So again from 1945 to another 8 years, that is up to 1954 in the middle. So these people are very much engaged again to fight against them. After 8 years of struggle continuously under the leadership of Ho Chi Minh, then finally in 1954 at a place called Dien Bien Phu. Dien Bien Phu is the name of the place in Vietnam, where the French army was defeated completely with 16,000 soldiers surrendering themselves, plus the officers who are the in charge of the French battalions who have surrendered completely and waived and accepted their defeat. With that, we have the initiative of discussing now for the peace conference. Here is a small twist. Till now we saw the Vietnam people fighting against the Japanese people attained their independence. Then we saw the people fighting against the French people. We got the independence. Now the French people played their MasterCard using the technology or the mastermind of divide and rule policy. Now they came with an initiative that in the peace conference which was held at Geneva, the Vietnam people are forced and persuaded to accept the division of the nation into two parts, that is North Vietnam and South Vietnam. Here the Vietnam people are not given any chance of choice here. They were compulsory forced in the condition that only that they are going to give them freedom. So the Vietnam now got redivided into North Vietnam and South Vietnam. So the North Vietnam was taken over by the communist leader Mr. Ho Chi Minh, and the South Vietnam was handed over to the old emperor. But very soon there was a twist there also. We got the emergence of the new king. The new king name is Ngo Dinh Diem. Ngo Dinh Diem is a man who does not believe in kind of liberal policies, who believes completely in the autocratic rule. In this autocratic rule, whoever starts to question him, they were sent to jail. He became a complete monarchic, absolute monarch who never listens to anyone, who wants a strong, stable monarchic setup, not a communist setup, not a democratic setup. He was fed up with that, and he started to initiate many of the people, and his idea was that there should not be anyone who is going to question him. This stand of this Ngo Dinh Diem made the people to get against him and form an independent action force which is going to fight for their freedom. That is the National Liberation Force was again initiated in South Vietnam to fight against them. So now we are going to read what happened in North Vietnam, what happened in South Vietnam, what were the changes that brought them, and were they able to be reunited again, or still there are any milestones that has to be crossed. Do we have any entry of the other forces or re-entry of the Japanese people or any other superpower? Let us discuss them in the next part of the lesson. Now let us see the developments what happened in the North Vietnam after it was divided and handed over the North Vietnam to our leader Ho Chi Minh. So the Ho Chi Minh was initially following the policy from 1945 to 1954. He he was following a very soft policy that we'll reduce the tax, we'll reduce the rents, we are going to ban the arrears. His stand was very highly diplomatic and he is very soft towards the people. But the people are expecting something large from him. People made him a leader with an expectations like what trends were happened in Russia, what changes have brought in China. So they were expecting him to do something in a very larger scale. So after 1954, they came with a clear stand that the lands of all the rich landlords, where 70% of the entire lands of Vietnam are controlled by the rich landlords, were cut down, were taken over strictly from them. And the major thing what they have done is they have redistributed the lands to the landless peasants who does not have a single pinch of land, were again redistributed, and this made the people to feel very happy. In this way, Ho Chi won the hearts of the people of Vietnam to a very larger extent, where they have waited for the dream to come true, where they have expecting that even an inch of land would make them to feel happy, but he distributed them hectares and hectares of lands which were once upon a time controlled by the landlords, and where the same people are forced to work under the forced labor concept without giving any payment or salaries for them. So this made them to feel really happy and truly their own government. So in this way, the northern part of Vietnam is experiencing a tremendous growth towards a positive sign, and people are very much happy and well connected with the leadership of Ho Chi Minh.